Well, the first time that I met John Little was when, as I said, when they all came to my house to offer this. They offered this for my going. Dr. Sardina. I had gotten my GED because they would my Valley Migrant League would set up this winter. They call it Winter Day School. It ran from October to about April, right before these people had to go back out in the fields and work, So about through all those winter months, you could go. That's how I got my GED. I started there and with them, and when I finished, I got my GED, and I felt great. And I said, "Well, I've got what I wanted." It never occurred to me that I was. And then here's these people arrived, knocked at my door. It was Dr. Sardina and John Little and Ruben Contreras and them. And I said, and Dr. Sardina, he was the most talkative, and he says, and he already knew me because we'd had these classes and he goes, Isabel, we've come to have you go to Linfield College. And I said, go to college? And I said, no, me go to college? No, I just wanted to get a GED. And he says, no, but you're not in the middle. You're just in the middle of the road. You're not to one side or other. And I put it. So that's the way that's the way I met John Little when he came to my house to offer offered me the opportunity to go into. We have because they said we've studied your case and your family, and you're the most qualified to attend Linfield. So I said, well, I guess if you say so. I said, I guess I'll go and think. If you think I can do it, I'll try. I said, I'll die trying it. And one thing with me is that if I start something, as the saying goes, come hell or high water, I finish. I had an incident. I'll just tell you a little bit of that back in Texas. The first time I went out in the field, I had never been out in a field, and the soil, they had disked it and it was loose, and your foot would go in and out and in and out as we walked sowing. The next morning, when I got up in the morning, my legs, I could hardly get out of bed, and I went walking, and of course we had outhouses, and I said, they're not going to say that I went to work one day and the next day I didn't go to work because I couldn't handle it. And I went to the outhouse and back and walked, and then of course I started knitting my dough, and we had to make our own tortillas. I said, could go around the world with all the tortillas. I'd knit about 10 pounds of dough at one time, to feed all my family. But anyway, so that's, and I made it through, we worked about three seasons there in Texas before we moved up north. But that's the way I am, so if I start something. So I said, well, I'll try. I told Dr. Sardina and them, I thank you for giving me this opportunity, but I'll do my best. I don't know how it'll go, but we'll just have to wait and see. But that's the way. But then all through the years, I as I told you, I was on every kind of board that you name it. I was there. I was hardly ever, almost every night I had some meeting or somewhere to go, and so John Little was always at these meetings. So we became very close, and he always would come. And we were always, as I say, they had the funds there and they would divide them to different areas. And so we were always, our board from this area would always be fighting that we needed funds for childcare. That's what we were always, our goal was. And we had a goal that one day we'd build a center and have childcare. Well, it didn't come to be, but as I say, I was the first one on the board of Whitecap, which we have now a Head Start there, and so I said, you know, we did something. We set up that something was going to come, because we didn't have Whitecap in those years here. I think Whitecap would come to the areas. They had to make a study. I guess it would come where it was low income, I guess. I think that's the way they told us they would put it. They'd research the areas and say how much the economy of the area. So I guess we qualified, and that's why we have the Whitecap. Now we have the Head Start there, which is serving a lot of the migrant children.
So how would you say that what was John Little's, or some of the leaders of the VML, what was their philosophy for divvying up money, for setting up programs? Some people described what, before John Little, when he was there, he said it was too paternalistic, that they weren't, empowering and enabling the community to, like you said, become educated and set up programs to where they could take care of themselves. So what was the philosophy of how money was doled out, and what were they looking for at the state level when they were trying to give this money to all the different areas?
Well, the way mostly the money that they were going, it was geared towards education. They gave a lot of money, because I know that the migrant funds helped a lot of students, because that's the years that I worked, the 10 years I worked in Woodburn I was paid through migrant funds. But there was no kindergarten in those years in Woodburn, and we were the migrant funds were the only ones that helped these children that I had in my classes, for those 10 years. Because I had left Woodburn already, and they still didn't have a kindergarten run by the school. It was run by, I think it must have been, because I left in 81, so in 80 I think. I left Woodburn in 80 to come to Amity, and they still didn't have any kindergarten. So I think it was maybe around 85 before I think by the law required them to have kindergartens. So that's a lot of money was spent, but it was mostly in education, which to me, I felt that was a good way to go, because these kids, the older generations were already, but the kids needed a head start, well, for example, seeing Oscar Olivares that graduated last night with his degree and his master's degree in foreign management, it brings back that I said, well, that's a good thing that was done, because I was set that the ESL program in Amity was run with migrant funds, so that when he came, he was 9 years old and he didn't know a word of Spanish, and so of English. So I was there at that time, and he's what he is now, because of what happened in those years back, But the migrant funds were mostly, and not just for that. They did find jobs there. You can have women in the community. When we were at the migrant day school they had a job counselor, and he would come out and offer and go out in the community. In those years, Diana's tortilla factory had just moved. It was over here, west of east of town here, southeast of town, and then they moved to a big building north of town. But now it's been bought out by Mission. But I remember the job counselor came to the winter day school, and he looked at the women there and says, "There's jobs there at Diana's," and so a lot of women got jobs through there. So that was part of the work of the migrant. In the VML was to find jobs for people and set them up, and they researched people. And I was just talking to a friend of mine that she says, well, they told me I didn't, because I didn't know any English, that I couldn't, but they did my husband, that he could go, and they would send him to school. I know they had some that became barbers, they sent them to barber schools. So there was, they did quite a bit of good, the way as much as I saw of that, they had a lot of ladies there working, doing secretarial work, which I was experienced, where they could go on and work some other places, and file clerks and stuff like that.
So, like you said, most of the money was allocated for education and job training and job placement. But was there a sense within the community that they would have liked to have those funds go more towards child care, or health clinics, or free health care, more social services rather than educational and job retraining?
Well, we had child care every year we had child care every year in the summer when the migrant people came. We had a child care here at Linfield for a couple of years, and then I worked. Well, the one we'd already taken it over by the Baptist Church. As I think I told you before, I was paid there, and I was head cook and head waiter and had everything to the children there at Ayola Village. We had this set up, but it was first set up by the VML. They did set up child care for every summer. We rented 3 rooms over well, it was they gave us the start, but it was up to the people to put their forth some effort, and so we'd sell Mexican food and tacos and this, even in front of the stores. We would ask for, and we'd raise funds towards child care, and we'd rent a couple of rooms in Dayton for 3 years. We would rent the rooms and pay them rent to have child care there for the children.
Like you said before, you work with the Baptist Church and other organizations, Linfield College. What other public organizations, churches, schools, or community groups, maybe like a Rotary or a Lions Club, anything like that, did the VML work with to create these programs, or to continue support, if any? For the Catholic Church, maybe would be one.
Well, as I told you, I belong to it was called the Migrant Ministry, and that involved all the churches here in McMinnville. So they were out there, seeing how they could help. Like the Presbyterian Church, we had for a couple of years, I think it was, we used their kitchen to put on a Mexican dinner, and to raise funds geared towards child care. And as I said, the stores would let us put a table out there in front, and we could sell tacos there. And so, that's the way that I feel that people got involved, helping out to the people that needed the help.
When you were working in Woodburn for all those years, and you were on every board, and you were working with all these organizations. How did the state chapter of the VML communicate and work effectively with the different local organizations? And how was the communication done? How were needs met, and how were those communicated from one place to another?
Well, they had the different people that like you had the job counselors, and they had the people that would come out. They would come out to the school, and they would come out to the areas. And this is how it was up to us, also that we were on this board. We were on the board, and we were supposed to bring the communication out to well, there's this and there's that, and you can use that. But that's the way that I know. In Woodburn, as I said, I worked there for 10 years, but there was we had a lady that was the one that recruited the children, and she was the one that went out there and told the people about the program, and of course the people from the main office in Salem would come, and they'd have meetings with the people. That we had it was a requirement of VML to have a parent group. You'd have like an officers, like the president and the secretary and so on. So these people could go out and tell other people, run the voice that there was these help there, that if they needed it or their children needed the help.
Well, that about wraps up most of my questions. So, is there anything else you'd like to say, or any other thoughts you had on the Valley Migrant Program that I might have not covered? You're welcome to say anything you'd like, and if not, then...
Yeah, well, the only thing that I can say is that I think, all in all, that VML in those years, I don't know how it is working now, because they still have the migrant program, as I said, after I lost contact with what's going on now. I don't know how it's working, what they're doing, or anything, but I know that the help was there, and the voice was run, that there was this help, and there were people out there telling other people how, because as I said, we had the parent group, and these parent group were the ones that carried the voice out to the other. And the sad part is that I think that it was just some people just didn't want to, or I can say for myself, I don't know what the thoughts of other people were, but to me, they didn't take the opportunity was there, but a lot of people didn't take the opportunity of trying to better themselves. As I told you before, the Vista volunteer came out to the camp out at Grand Island,